So he's the instrumentalist. You're the singer. Tell us a little bit about your musical journey of when you started to notice that you had that talent. How did you go about nurturing that? How did it evolve to be as big a part of your life as it is now?
Well, I've always sung. Ever since I can remember, I've just always been singing. My mom is a huge, she's big, beautiful, opera voice. And I kind of inherited singing from her. My dad loves music. My dad was a pastor, so growing up I sang in the church a lot. When I started realizing I had more of an actual talent, not just, kids singing or whatnot, I was I think I was a freshman in high school, and I was singing in our choir talent show day. It was choir class on Fridays was karaoke day or whatever. And I think, what did I sing? I think it was Celine Dion's, When I Was Young, I Never Needed Anyone, her version of that song. And my choir teacher was just because I was all by my, I just went for it. And I think my voice cracked and whatnot, but he pulled me aside afterwards and he's like, have you ever had voice lessons? I was like, no. We were really poor. So, that was not something that was even on my radar at that point. So, he wanted to talk to my parents, and they did, and then somehow we afforded voice lessons. I don't know how, because, yeah. So.
And so, you were talking about, or we were talking about Patrick's musical talents. Clearly, you've got other creative arts talents yourself. I understand you. Is it painting that you do?
I do painting and I make jewelry. So I make and sell feather earrings, like these guys. Actually made these last night. So
oh,
these
cool.
Are kind of fun, yeah. I love these. They're so pretty. So I make and sell these online through Facebook on, it's called Shea Family Feathers. One of my friends, she makes feather earrings, and she has for years, and she has a huge following, and so she recruited me to make feathers, because I mean, when the shutdown happened, I had really nothing to do for a very long time. Oh, now I can't get it in my ear. Ah! There we go. Okay. And I kind of picked up feather making or earring making as a hobby, because Pat will tell you, I am the most nervous, idle hand person, can't sit still, you will ever meet. He actually bought me art supplies so I could sit down with him on the couch and watch TV and not get up and be doing stuff while we're trying to relax. So I was...
The reason I bought you, though, is because I thought you'd be a good artist.
You told me it was because I was so...
Well, that too. No, it's just you've got all this energy, but I thought, I mean, you can do that with anything, right? And I thought, because she's such a creative person and a visually creative person. Even before the earrings and stuff, I mean, she cares a lot about the way she looks, and she's very visually aware. And I thought, oh, well, you should make visual art. I think try to so that's kind of what, so I just bought her a set of pens or whatever it was, just
and
to
that led
play
to
with.
painting.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And had you been painting, or is that what kind of got you into painting?
So because I had all this time, I got really good at this, and then Shay invited me to sell earrings on her website, which I'm still doing. I made this necklace too. This is a new thing I'm doing, is learning how to wire wrap, which is fun. The painting thing, I've always really liked spray paint. I thought it was fun. I don't really know how. I think I was spray painting some shoes. And I was like, well, this would be kind of fun.
What's your sense of when, and this goes for both of you, when the gigs are going to start opening up a little bit more?
Well, this affects Pat the most, because that's his main bread and butter during the summer.
I mean, I can tell you that we've already started to book some stuff for the summer. And I have a few things between now and then, but really not much. I mean, I should say traditionally, the season of gigging would be from about... Let me lean in here a little bit. Traditionally, the season of gigging would be, let's say, approximately Memorial Day to the first weekend of October. That's when you're going to do your bulk of work, because it's summer, and that's when that kind of stuff happens. This year, we're already booking with a few acts that I have But
he plays with multiple bands.
I do multiple bands, but but same kind of schedule. We're probably going to start really kicking up in earnest in the summer. I've got a few things between now and then, but which is fine. We're living in the community that we live in. It's great. As you know, there are so many outdoor performance opportunities around town. Any restaurant that does, which is fantastic around here. So, but again, with the COVID and everything, it's definitely been. I mean, I think in 2019 I played 240 something shows, and I think in 2020 I played maybe 30. You know, and that's fine. That's the way the world went that last year. So, hopefully this year will be a little bit better. I have a feeling that this summer will be not dissimilar from last summer, just in terms of kind of like probably and this is a good thing, and a great thing about living in Bend is that the local music talent here is phenomenal. So if we're stuck with ourselves, we're in a pretty good spot to be. You know, I have a feeling there's not going to be a whole lot of national touring acts coming through town.
Which might be better for the locals.
Yeah, better for the locals anyway. So that's and that's fine. And hopefully then by the fall, maybe by the time we kind of have to go back inside on the other end of the summer, maybe we'll be able to do some more stuff. But
I would think that touring can take a toll, though, too.
Oh,
I mean, there's a
yeah.
lot of driving.
it's exhausting. It's fun.
Well, it's not
Yeah.
even just the driving; it's the personalities.
Well-
At least in having like 6 to 8 people, like people. Oh my god, I can't even imagine touring with that many people. It was an old band that had. How many people were in that band?
You mean
A lot.
as far as personalities
Yeah.
being so close to each
Oh,
other
yeah.
for such a long period
Yeah.
of time?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a family. You literally are a family. You have relationships with everyone. So it's like brother and sister kind of. Jason and I had gotten into it a few times when we got really hungry. We're just like screaming at each other and crying because our blood sugar is so low.
Yeah.
I need to get food.
So with all of the different bands you guys each have been playing in, is it like, does each band take on its own personality, or is it...
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. I try to honor each band's kind of intention with what's happening and give it its own space. Let it be what it is. I mean, usually, even though I might be the same person, you know, the other combination of people, I try to allow each act to kind of be the most natural form of itself, if that makes sense. And it's the combination of the people. It's a combination of those people's experiences. It's a combination. What are you trying consciously to do? What do you end up doing unconsciously sometimes? I don't find it to be that hard. It seems like when it becomes more difficult is when you try to steer it too much. You know, when you try to make, well, this band does like kind of groovy, funky stuff. Let's make it do heavy rock stuff. Well, that doesn't work so well. Or vice versa kind of thing. You know, it's just like, it seems like a lot of times if you get 4 or however many talented people in a room and you just kind of let them go, they'll make something really cool. And usually the most natural impulse of what they make is usually probably the best thing that they're going to do. And you can take very talented musicians, get them to do kind of whatever. But I found that if I can just get out of the way and let it just do what it does, it's pretty easy. Actually.
And does each... I know that some do, and I think of Eric Leadbetter Band.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, to my way of thinking, is the band leader.
Absolutely.
Does each of the bands generally have a band leader, or is there sometimes it just sort of evolves along the way?
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's multiple. I think there's always kind of a leader, but at the same time, there are leaders, but everybody kind of takes on roles. So maybe yes, Eric Leadbetter is a great leader of the band. I always drive the car at night. You know, when we're on tour.
Pat has a tendency to kind of take control of the practicing aspect in one of it.
For sure.
The first time we actually practiced as a full band, we both were trying to take control at the same time.
Right.
And we kind of butted heads
teacher.
a little bit, and we got back to the house and kind of were quiet, and we're like,
Mm-hmm.
so we should probably figure this out. Like, who's gonna be steering this? So it is trying to navigate a lot of personality stuff too, because everyone has their own opinion about things, about the way things should go, and you have to find a happy medium, and you have to be able to compromise. That's a huge thing in bands. If you can't do that, your band probably isn't going to last. If there are too big of egos in one person or another person, it's probably not going to work. It's really about working together and doing what's best for the music, as opposed to, I just want to play my guitar, I want to be heard, I want to be louder than everybody else and sing over everything, you know, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about working together and compromising.
And I'm not going to be asking for any names or reputations, but I would imagine that the word gets out pretty quickly about how different people have their own styles, and if it's going to mesh with oneself or with the overall band, you kind of know buyer beware.
Yeah, it definitely goes both ways. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like a lot of times people say, you know, they said, oh, this person in the band and I butt heads. Well, is it because they're being rude, or because you feel like your ego isn't being stroked in the way you need it to be stroked?
Totally.
Blah 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 blah. Like most anything else, it's like if you're having a problem, you're probably at least 50% of that problem, right? It's like if you're having a problem with something that somebody else is doing it, at least half of it is on you, to perceive
Some
it
level,
as
Absolutely,
a problem.
I get it.
You know, so it's like you have to be like conscious of, okay, I'm going to show up to band practice and I know that one guy is loud.
And this is how I react to it.
Right. And so I can take that as, and that's just how that person is. They're just a loud person, either, you know, whatever that means exactly.
Sure.
Loud can be lots of things, right? So I can choose to let that get to me, or I can choose to be like, I know they're loud, but we're here to make music, and so I just don't need to let that bother me anymore. You know, but it's taken me about 30 years of this to get through it.
Yeah.
Just understand, and just being like, well, what can I coexist with, and what do we need to address?
And I've
Kinds of
definitely
things.
like matured and changed as a musician. I wasn't always the easiest person to work with. Like, I was a little bit of a diva, I think, back when I was younger, because I didn't know how to deal with people in general. That the social aspect of it, and really just learning how to read people and you know, realize that you can't just demand everything from everyone all the time. That's not okay. Like, everyone needs their space and needs to digest things the way they digest things. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have a particular favorite of the kind of venue you might be at? Whether it be like, I don't know if you've ever done like a real house concert or...
I cried when the stage got torn down, because I've played on that stage a lot, and they were very impactful, epic moments in my life, and so that sucked. But I mean, I know progress, all that stuff, but that would be...
They're building it back.
I know, it's not the same.
But you had a real emotional connection to that
I did, yeah.
place.
But, I mean, it's still there, obviously, but it'll just be different. Those kind of venues for me are the best. When you look out and there's like 5,000 people and you're like, cool, yep, this is awesome. Playing with one person in front of you is way more terrifying to me than 5,000 people.
Uh-huh.
Because that one person is really watching you.
Yeah.
Everything you do. 5,000 people, they're talking, they're drinking beer, like they don't, you know, they're moving around a little bit. So you can make mistakes and people won't notice as much.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of what your most preferable venue is or
really
experience?
Mind. I mean,
Yeah, where do you
no,
go?
I mean it's. I mean, not. I like to play where people are having a good time. I don't really care if it's bigger or smaller or inside or outside, or any of that kind of stuff necessarily. To me, it's about are we as a band playing well? And that almost is irrelevant to the where we are, right? That to me is like for myself at this point in my musical journey, I'm more focused on, are we making good music together and presenting something good? Where we are doing that almost doesn't matter. like my intent doesn't change on that level. I'm always going to try to do as well as I can. If there's 20 people, 200 people, 2,000, whatever.
Well, yeah, that's not good. That shouldn't change.
And so that kind of, yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, there are lots of great venues in town.
And the bands that you've played in, can you name several of them, or are they? Yeah, I'm sure.
So I play with Stephanie. Stephanie and I have another band as well called Slade and the Hatchet, which is more of a loud rock and roll band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do a lot of '90s covers,
absolutely.
which is just fun for us.
I play with our friend Eric Leadbetter in his band, the Leadbetter Band. I've got a good friend named Mark Ransom. I play in his band, Mark Ransom and the Mostest.
Yep.
Fair Trade Boogie Band.
I have a band called the Fair Trade Boogie Band. I have a band called...
They're pretty much instrumental.
There's
one song they say yes.
Instrumental groove band. What else do I have? Who else do I play with?
I don't know.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
But there's more. Always lots more.
So tell us a little bit about your musical journey. When did you start realizing that you had musical talent and interest, and then started developing it?
Yeah. Well, I've always really liked music. I mean, my parents were not musicians, but really there's always music in the house. They always loved to listen. We always had a nice big record collection to listen to. And I'm originally from outside of Seattle, and I moved to Bend when I was 12. And at the time, I think, and it's still the case, in the middle schools, in the 6th grade, you had to take band, choir, or orchestra. And I chose, and I was really into music, and this seemed like a cool opportunity to kind of pick an instrument. So I chose to play band, played saxophone in the band, which I did all through high school, actually. It was really fun. But when I was 16, I got my first guitar, or first bass. I guess I got my first guitar when I was 12. Taught myself how to play, took a few lessons down there. I've always just really liked it. You know, I've always been really motivated to want to play music. I don't really know, why. It's always just been really comfortable. I really enjoy making music. It's afforded me a lot of fun opportunities. I've been able to travel all over the place. I meet a lot of really great people.
He practices more than anyone I've ever
I play a lot. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
That's why he's so good, though.
Well, yeah, and
all the time.
You asked me about my talent. I mean, I would say that. I mean, like I might be talented, but I've always been it's definitely didn't really come terribly naturally to me. I mean, I just, like you said, I just kind of do it a lot.
Yeah.
It's more than, like I said, 240 whatever gigs, and another 100 rehearsals on top of that. So it's a busy, but I like it. I mean, if they say, I don't know what else I would do with myself if I wasn't playing music.
Were you playing in bands in high school?
Oh, absolutely. I was playing in bands in high school. As soon as I like Stephanie said, I play bass. I play guitar, but I also played a lot of bass. And when I turned 16, my family couldn't afford to get me a car, but I'd been playing this like little kind of cheap acoustic guitar. And my parents were like, okay, you're 16. You seem to be into this now. We'll buy you an electric guitar or an electric bass, because I had kind of, maybe bass is kind of cool.
He's a lefty too.
I'm left-handed, and then my dad said, he's like, if you play bass, and I don't know why he knew this, because he was not a musician at all. He's like, if you play bass, you might have an opportunity to get more gigs, because there's like 1 million guitar players out there, right? So sure enough, I am left-handed. We went down to the local music store, and this is before the internet, so we had to order it, and it took like a week to get here, maybe, and somebody had heard that I was going to get a bass, and they hired me to be in their band about 4 days before I got it. And I've never not been in a band. I think just because I own it, like initially. And I was like, oh, cool. Then I got pretty decent at it or whatever. Like, this is fantastic. So it's been, I love it. It's super fun.
And then is that how you've been making your living then in the way that you are now for quite some time?
Absolutely. Well, and then about 15 years ago, that's a long time ago, seems like. My friend Mark Ransom and I, who I play bass with, we started a music education program in schools. It started very organically with his daughter, who at the time was at a school who just kind of, they needed some help with their music program. And Mark and I just kind of volunteered ourselves, and it grew into what eventually became the Bend Roots Festival and all that organization, so which is just fantastic. And I'm still involved in schools these days, and I still go in, and when I can, I love to teach, and I teach anything from instrument classes, like a guitar class or a ukulele class, to full-on rock band classes, kind of like the School of Rock movie, and it's a lot of fun. I love doing that kind of stuff.
What brought you to Bend?
My family moved here, let's see, I moved here in 1991, so it's been almost 30 years.
That's right, that was when you were 12, did you say?
12.
Yeah, okay, that brought you.
So we moved here, and my dad got a job. But I feel really fortunate, because I just love it here. You know, I mean, what a fantastic place to be.
What year was it that, did you say you moved here?
91.
So you've seen some development of the music scene here yourself.
Oh, big time. When I first moved here, it was almost, I can't quite say non-existent, but it was all, I mean, there were a few little places, I wouldn't even call them clubs. It would be like, we're a bar, and then on, Thursday nights we'll have a band or whatever sometime, and so there was, what a crazy thing, yeah. And then, but also when I moved here too in 91, I think there was something like 18,000 people who lived here.
I was going to say, I was in Redmond, and
and there
were 25,000, and now there are over 100,000.
Over 100 or whatever. So it was a much smaller town. And then it was 91. I was middle school, and then I graduated from high school in 1998 from Mountain View, just right down the road over there. And in that time, it just erupted. And then things like, there used to be a club downtown called the Grove. That was really cool. And then then the Grove closed down, but that was right after that. McMinimans, Silver Moon, kind of the Domino Room really kind of got up and rolling, and they had been doing some stuff, but there's been more stuff, and then the community, and then all the outdoor stuff, yeah, like the summer fests and all that stuff really started to get rolling in kind of like the late 90s, and so all of a sudden, and then I went to college in Eugene, over in the University of Oregon, and kind of banged around for a while. I came back 2004, 5, 6, somewhere in there, and by then, it was like, oh, you could kind of see how, like, oh, I think I could actually make a living doing music here somehow. Whereas, like, back in the early 90s, like, okay, maybe I don't know if it would have even been possible, really. But now, and certainly, that's like, okay, it's doable. You still have to work, which is fine. I don't mind.
But as the clubs started opening up, there were some good musicians that started coming in.
Oh,
right?
Fantastic! Well, and I would say too, the great musicians were already here too. I mean, I knew a lot of people that have been here the whole time. They were just like looking for a place to be. The community has, I feel like, been a magnet for artists of all kinds for a long time. I have a lot of friends in the Sisters folk community that have moved up there that kind of escaped California in the 70s or whatever and came back up here, and it's fantastic what they're doing out there. I do, yeah. We're fortunate to live here.
Like pushing.
Yeah. So with the pandemic and the prior year, like 240, this last year, next to nothing, how have you been using that time that you would have been out, traveling?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Recorded an album.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's just like I can't, like everybody else, it stopped. I think my last gig was almost a year ago. It was something like the 9th of March or something like that. It might have been in there. It was the very last one that we had. And then nobody knew what was going to happen, right? And after I didn't do much of anything for about a month. And then I just like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. At the time, I remember thinking like, I'd done some recording, and I wanted to do some more recording, but I didn't have really a lot of skills in terms of actually, I had been to a lot of recording studios, but there was always the other guy who was kind of pushing the buttons and doing everything. And okay, well, this is an opportunity to maybe learn how to do some of that stuff. And the way I learned how to do it is I made an album for myself and her as well. And we just started working on it, and I just like it took a long time. It's labor intensive if you know what you're doing, and it's really labor intensive if you're just kind of blindly just I wonder what this button does, I wonder what that button. And so that was probably the thing I did the most was really kind of build my studio at home and really kind of figure out how to use it, and like, okay, now I feel pretty good about it. And then on top of that, you know, most of the musicians I know, that creative impulse, you don't really turn it off. It just goes and it goes and it goes. And so all of a sudden everybody starts, well, okay, we can't get together and make music. I made a demo. Do you want to play some bass on it? Sure, great. Let's throw it over to this guy to play guitar. So all of a sudden we're recording records digitally in ways that we didn't used to. I mean, I made an album early on in the process. It's myself. There was actually another guy in Bend, although we were never in the same building together. The drummer was in Barcelona, and the keyboard player was in El Salvador or something like that. It was just like, but we might as well been here. I mean, it was great. And I'm doing an album right now where half of the band lives in Columbus, Ohio, and we're just like, it's like, great, this is fantastic. So it being together with people is obviously preferable, but if we can't do that, we just can't stop being creative. I mean, I know so many people that have written so many songs, and there have been so much recording done in this last year. Kind of the joke is, you know, no one is ever going to listen to all this music we're making, because there's just so much of it. It's great.